We'd like to welcome you all and thank you for coming. We know there's a lot of hot topics going around right now, and I would like to introduce you to Sue. She is coming down here to tell you guys a little bit about some services she may be bringing in and get some questions and feedback. I'm just introducing Sue.
So I'm going to get really close to the mic and make sure you all can hear me all the way in the back. Are we good? Wave, okay. Usually forward too. Yeah, I would love it if folks moved forward, but that's up to you. So, my name is Sue Lewis. I go by Sue, not real formal. I'm with Mental Health America, the Heartland. We are based in Kansas City, and I know a lot of conversations have happened. What I'd like to do tonight is talk for about maybe 30 minutes about what might be coming out here to Stafford. Then I'll open it up to questions. I also brought a stack of my business cards, and I'm going to encourage anybody to take them. I did not have time to write my cell phone number on every single one of them, but y'all are welcome to do that as well. Okay, because I absolutely want to respond. So, not going too deep into what Mental Health America, the Heartland is, but the easiest way to understand us is we're kind of like the American Heart Association, only for mental health. So we are not providers of clinical services. I don't have therapists. I don't have medications. I don't have psychiatrists there. We do a lot of programming. We've been around since 1916 in Kansas City area and beyond. For about 21 years now, we have been doing something called permanent supportive housing. What this is it is an independent apartment for a person who has struggled with mental health problems, who might have been homeless. They move into that apartment. It is totally furnished for them. Their rent is covered by subsidies from state or federal government, and we provide on-site support for them. When I say permanent, it's their forever home if they want it to be. People always ask me, Sue, do you have a waiting list? And I try not to be a real smart aleck, but I say, well, I don't know. Is there a waiting list on your house? People look at me like, what? Right. It's their forever home. They sign a lease. If they decide they want to move somewhere else, they move somewhere else. If they like it there, at the end of a year, they sign another lease, just like those of us who live in apartments do. Once they move in, we provide on-site supports, in addition to all the supports that are already happening from the Community Mental Health Center, which is where they're getting their meds, which is where they're getting their therapy, which is where they're getting case management, or they may be getting that same service for many of our folks from the VA. What we provide is on-site supports, not 24/7, because again, you don't want somebody 24/7 in your apartment either. But our residential managers are folks who are best explained as somewhere between a social worker, the building super, and an activities director. So they are there when folks come home from work or come back from being with their case manager or whatever. They're there to provide any kind of additional support that the person might need. They're also there when the washing machine breaks to let the people in to fix it. We run groups for folks. Those may be around mental health topics and recovery. Sometimes the groups are very social in nature. One of my two favorite groups that ever got run, and one of them still runs, were actually suggested by our residents. One was a group on cooking with diabetes, because a number of our residents had diabetes and couldn't figure out decent recipes. So we all got on the internet together and we downloaded recipes, and people cooked them together in their own apartments, brought them out, we tasted them. The good stuff we kept and made copies of the recipes, and the stuff that was nasty we threw away. And now we had folks who actually had diabetic meals they could make. My other favorite is a model club. I've got one property where I've got a lot of veterans, and I'll tell you how many properties and all that in just a second, and many of them like making model planes or model cars. And what they like doing is hanging out in the common area and talking while they work on their model planes together. That was their idea. Other properties have community gardens the residents have put in. So we have residents in 44 different apartments across Kansas City, Kansas, Kansas City, Missouri, Leavenworth, Ottawa, Emporia, and Manhattan. Okay, all of those have support services from our staff as well as the support services that folks get in the community. Questions so far about what we do? About that? Yes. And you may have to come up to the mic so the folks in the back can hear you. We'll get into the real nitty-gritty of this project, but basically permanent housing, you get it?
I'm very familiar with what you do. You guys have been doing it in California for a long time.
Oh yeah, we have. Not me personally,
Yeah.
but my sister organization in California.
What I want to know is what kind of support services do you provide?
Okay.
Okay, how are these people going to learn to acclimate to normality when we don't have public transportation or part-time jobs available? What are you going to do when they have meltdowns? Because my apartment complex had a whole bunch of that on staff. I'm very familiar with Penny Lane, Mental Health of America, Children's Bureau, all of that.
Excellent.
Okay, I do have a bachelor's in Health and Human Services and a master's in education with a focus on SPED. So I'm very familiar.
Absolutely.
What I want to know is how are you going to control it when they have a meltdown? I have had my neighbors before have meltdowns and had to call police, had to call PED. How are you going to handle all of that?
Okay. Was that here locally or in
No,
California?
in California.
Okay, great.
You've been doing it for years in California.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, I've worked with the homeless.
Okay.
We've had to call you guys out when the homeless have had meltdowns.
Okay.
So I want to know how you're going to control that in a town this small,
Okay.
which doesn't provide all of those support services.
Okay. Ready?
Yes.
Okay. Let me see if I can remember all the pieces. The support services we provide are, again, additional staffing above and beyond the case managers that are coming out of the center, and I've already been in conversation with the center, and I'll tell you I'll give you the timeline here in a second, okay? But, so we've providing the additional support there with residential managers who are nearby or on site.
Okay,
who
are these
connecting.
residential managers trained?
Yes,
Are they
absolutely.
LMFTs? Are you going to have those available 24 hours a day if somebody is having a meltdown?
Okay.
Are you going to have like NA?
Can I answer one at a time?
Sure.
I'm just getting a little barrage. Okay. Are they LMFTs? Licensed marriage and family therapists? Not
Right.
necessarily.
Or are they alcohol addiction counselors?
They are typically bachelor's or master's level trained folks. Some of them are peer specialists.
Mm-hmm.
I have not hired for the position, and I'll explain that in a minute as to where we're at in the process. But they are hired and trained. But if someone needs clinical services,
Right.
okay, if someone needs to
And
go,
that happens very often.
it happens in some places. It doesn't happen very often in
Yes,
the
it
properties
does,
I've
ma'am.
had.
I've had to put up with it.
Okay. In my 44 properties,
Uh-huh.
which we've had since 2001, and my estimate is we've had about 150 people over that period of time, because of
Okay.
course it's permanent. Some folks have stayed there since 2001. Is I have had 3 people have to go to the hospital in that period of time. And part of how that works is because our folks are there on site, not 24/7 living with them. This is not
Okay.
a group home. Okay? We see when people are starting to have difficulty and connect them into their services, get the case managers out, and are available to them. So let me hang on to another little piece here, because I think some of what may be a little up in the air for folks is what kind of people would move in. Okay, so let's hold off to say we basically understand permanent supportive housing.
Well, these are residential treatment centers is what you're putting up.
No, I'm not.
Okay, then
Okay.
what is it
Okay,
then?
so let me go back to the history. So, several years ago, when we started having a lot of difficulty with people being able to get a psychiatric bed at state hospitals, or Carol's Place, a nursing facility for mental health for someone who was in desperate need, who was really very unstable, there was nowhere for them to go, it hit me that there are some people that are in the state hospital or in nursing facilities for mental health who are there only because they don't have a place to live. They maybe don't have family who are connected who can provide support, and they need a little more help than just having a case manager come see them several times a month. These are the perfect candidates for permanent supportive housing.
Okay, so you're going to have a criteria that they have to meet before they can get it.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I'll get to that in just a second. So let me tell you the rest of the history. Yeah, this is not a residential treatment facility.
Okay.
It is not a halfway house by any stretch of the imagination. These are apartments that people can live in for as long as they want, that have additional support services beyond what they already will be.
So they've already
connected.
been exhibiting normality and stability.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Oh, okay, great.
Absolutely.
Thank
oh
you.
my gosh, yes. Heavens, yes. Okay. Maybe I should have said that first, huh? Sorry about that. All right. So let me back up a little bit. I realize that there are some of these folks, not everybody, okay? Because as you point out, it needs to be a person who is capable of managing pretty well most of the time, but needs a little extra. It kind of reminds me of when my mom started aging and we put her in a senior apartment because there were staff nearby who would check on her because I couldn't get there every day, right? She didn't need anyone babysitting her. She didn't need to be in a nursing home, but she sure couldn't be safe all by herself out on the farm, right? So it's sort of that level. So I had this idea. I talked about it with a number of people. I talked about it with the state. They said, you know what, that makes some sense. Let's do that. So I started a project with folks up in Emporia and have folks who have come out of Osawatomie State Hospital, again, we'll talk about how we screen them and all that, okay, but who've come out of Osawatomie State Hospital who are now living with supports in apartments in Emporia. In the midst of that process, the state said to me, you know, there is a property, there is a motel in Stafford that is for sale that might work.
The state said that?
The state told you that? Yes, the guy at the state is the person who told me. Okay, a guy at the state told me, and I said, okay, well, you've done me the favor of this. I will go
Can you be more
look.
specific about who this guy from the state was?
Certainly, it's Andy Brown, the commissioner. Okay, he's not here because I'm here to explain what might happen, and if I can go just a little bit farther, I'll tell you where we're really at, if that's what you're interested in knowing. Okay, so he says, hey, there's this place in Stafford. Would you go look at it? And I said, I will go look. I said, it's a motel. That's not what I typically do, but I'll go look. So a couple of months ago, I drove down and I looked. And I said, I don't put people into single rooms. My criteria for a place that I'm going to put someone is that's got to be an apartment that I personally would be willing to live in. Okay, so looked at it, said, with some renovations and converting some of these single rooms into one room is the bedroom and the other becomes the living room and kitchen, this could be doable. Okay. Went back to the state, said, okay, have talked, it's doable. Okay. I am not the buyer. Okay, there is a private investor, guy who I have worked with for 2 years, who with me and said, if you would provide the support services, I would consider buying it. Okay. So, and his thing is he's just a guy. He's a guy who likes doing rental properties. He's a guy who cares about folks who are vulnerable. But he's also a landlord who knows that if you're going to have a vulnerable person there, you want some kind of support there because he doesn't want anybody messing up his property. He wants to make sure his rent gets paid, and he wants to make sure the folks are safe there and that they have the support they need, right? And so he and I've worked on another project. I said, okay. Went back to the state, said, okay, we've been down, we've looked, it looks doable. What do you need? He says, I need a number, Sue. And I said, okay, when? And he said, now. And I said, okay. And so I gave him a number, and he said, okay. And I said, now what do you need? He says, I need a budget. I said, okay, when? And he says, in 2 days. I said, okay. So I wrote up a budget that would provide the support services from my organization, that would provide money to be able to make sure that the community mental health center could come out here and provide support for these people until these people got insurance, because some of them may not have insurance when they first come to us. And that would provide for their rent, because some of them may not have their disability payments ready yet. Okay, so put that proposal together, and we waited. And a lot goes on at the state, and finally I got an answer on the 6th of June, which if anyone's looking at their calendar, they realize it's a Sunday at 10:30 at night. And the answer is, Sue, yes, there is money if this is to go forward. I said, great. The next morning, I got on the phone and I called Jamie and I said, Jamie, said, I'd like to convene a community meeting. There is something to talk about now. And I want the community to know what could be happening in Stafford, because I want to answer any questions, and I will bet the community has got some really good points and some maybe good ideas that I should be taking into account. We got together here tonight, because it gave us enough time for you all to know that I was coming. But let's be very clear about one thing. I don't have a contract with the state yet for the support services. That's a good thing. That means if we need to make adjustments, we can do that. There's not a contract for sale on the motel yet either. So if that needs to be adjusted, that could happen. That's why I hightailed it down here tonight, is so that if we need to make adjustments, we have the opportunity to have a dialogue. And I feel really funny being up on the stage, because usually I'm down on the floor talking with folks, but have an opportunity to do the dialogue. So let me tell you a little bit about, I'm going to tell you a little bit about the screening, but first I'm going to let Carol Page tell you a little bit about the kind of folks that I would be willing to have live in permanent supportive housing that I'm responsible for.
I don't know that some of you guys know me. I'm actually from St. John. I grew up in St. John. My name was Carol Welch, and I actually run a mental health facility. The state of Kansas is the only state that has nursing facilities for mental health, and there's 10 mental health facilities. What has happened over the period of many years is that our clientele, because there's no housing out there, they're having to sit in our facilities because there is nothing open. Because, you know, one of the things you guys need to realize is that these are people that, guys, you might meet on the street and you would never even know they're mentally ill. They might be one of your neighbors and you never know they're mentally ill. Did you realize that the statistics say that 1 in every 5 families has somebody that's mentally ill? Look around the room. And what happens, guys, is that when we start to hear something like this, we automatically assume that is something bad. We assume that these are bad people, that these are people that are into drugs and they're into all these things. I was telling Mark from St. John that I have one gentleman that was a drug addict in 1960. Hasn't touched drugs since the 60s. But what happens is that I have clients that do a job program in-house, that take their medication, that can do very well, that could have someone be there to help them ensure that, hey, I've made, had my medication box filled. I had someone come and check on me to make sure I have groceries. I have someone come to check on me to make sure that I'm eating well, just like home health. But the difference we're looking at, guys, is because the assumption is because they're mentally ill, there's a problem. Guys, the people that are going to be looking at these kind of facilities, at this place, and this is not a facility, it's an independent apartment, just like if you as a landlord owned a duplex, and somebody from my facility came over to you to want to rent from you, are you going to ask them if they're mentally ill? Because I guarantee you, they may not present that way. But these are some of the clients we're looking at, some of the ones that have the opportunity to be out of a 45-bed facility living with other people. In a locked facility. I have a locked facility. So they can't even go out the front door without a staff member punching in a code. I have clients, and the other NFMHs have clients, that if they had an opportunity for some place to live, they would flourish because of the fact that they're being allowed to grow. You can't grow in a place that you can't get any farther with. But like I said, right now I have 15 people on an in-house job program. I have 5 people that were doing the community job program till COVID hit. These are people that know their mental health. They understand it. They just need someone to believe in them. And I will tell you, I'm going to throw myself under the bus. I looked at the motel a year ago. Because you know what I was looking for? And it wasn't just the motel, I looked at other places. I was looking at places that could help these people be able to live regular lives. And the reason I'm going to tell you this is why I looked at Stafford. I live in Stafford County. My thought was that too, is wow, a place that could economically could make something better for Stafford County. How? Well, let me ask you a question. Do you think they're going to buy groceries at your store? Or do you think we're going to bring food in from another county? Are they going to pay for utilities here? But guys, even if they don't,
Jobs or services?
but guys, even if there's no jobs, you have to understand, like people that come from my building, they're on Social Security disability, so they have funds coming in. So they're going to use their funds, guys, to do that. It's not just the piece of living out and having a job. It's the piece of getting to walk out my door and not having to walk out a locked door. It's getting to walk down to the theater and watch a movie without a staff member having to go with me to figure out if it's okay if I go. Huh? I would be glad to look at the motel over there. Like I said.
You live there and you don't know there's a motel there?
No, I said I know there's a motel there. But I didn't know I didn't know the motel over there was up for sale.
The motel over in St. John is not for sale. That's why she didn't know.
That's why. Because I've also looked at buildings at Kensington, which is clear up by Hayes. A couple years ago, we tried to talk about the Parkview in Maxville, which was then bought by a family. This hasn't been we're trying to do this now. This has been try to do this for years. Because I guess my question is, why would I come to you to ask you about something like that if I'm not the investor, I can't buy something. All I was doing, guys, was looking at opportunities to present to state mental health, and we talked about opportunities all over the state. It wasn't just here. But what I am telling you is, no matter whether it be here or not, what I want you guys to think about is the kind of people. There's a screening process. It's very specific. It's not going to, and guys, we're also talking about not just people from nursing facilities for mental health. We're talking about veterans. We're talking about people that are needing a place to be, that have lived homeless for a while because they have no house to be in, but they can do very well, but they can't get someone to give them a break.
Excuse me.
Yes, ma'am.
We were misinformed. I was informed it was a halfway house.
No.
Residential precinct.
No,
So
it is
why don't
not.
you- Right, it's not. So why don't you explain to us what the criteria is,
Okay.
what they're going to do? I'm very supportive of mental health. My daughter works for LA Housing. She works with the homeless. She gets them into residential treatment. Why don't
Okay.
you explain what happens after they've met that criteria and they're ready to come back to normality?
Okay. One of the things that I will flip back over to Sue here in a second, but one of the things I want to tell you is we actually move people from my facility to other housing as well. So this isn't just a here thing. When we found places, we've moved them when people have been able to do so. But there's a criteria they even have to meet within my facility to be able to do those things. So, but yes, I think one of the things that's happened is that people were misinformed. And I think people took on the idea of, oh my God, we're going to have a bunch of crazy people in town. They're going to be doing all these horrible things.
No, that's not what they were thinking.
Well-
What they were thinking is that we would not be able to support them and provide
Yeah.
them success.
Well, and this is the thing, guys. These are people that I would trust my family with. These are people that I would trust my grandchildren with. I'm not, living in Stafford County, I'm not going to bring somebody in that I feel would be a threat to Stafford County. I grew up here.
In other words, it's more like leisure cottages.
Thank you. It's more like letting somebody have a place to be. The only difference is, guys, you're talking about a set of apartments. It's like having duplexes.
But we have no public health, transportation, and people on medicine with mental illness that walk to the motel. They cannot walk to the motel in this heat or the
But-
movie theater in this heat.
But that's where they work with the case manager and the supported housing people. That's where some of that happens. They help take care of that. And that's one of the things that they have to look at. I'm sorry?
But they're not here 24 hours, 7 days a week.
Correct. But these people may not need the support 24 hours, 7 days a week. Guys,
The state could bring in jobs and provide people with, like a dial-a-ride.
yeah, actually,
Door to door. We could- If this, you could bring it back to the state, this facility could create jobs here in Stafford.
and the thing is, what I want you to come by is, it's not a facility. Guys, one of the things, it's simply, right. Yeah, it's simply an apartment house with people that might need extra help. Just like, guys, I'm going to tell you, some of the people living in your community use the same services living in their own house.
Whose taxes would be affected by this?
Nobody's. But I'll let Sue talk. That's out of my. I just want to kind of tell you about the kind of people, guys, that we work with. They're the people that would move here. And guys, I'm going to tell you right now, I'm not talking about moving a bunch of people out of my building. What I'm talking about is people that have the opportunity to grow.
I love that Carol mentioned it's not a facility, and I really appreciate that you said, okay, I get it, it's like
And
legally.
I apologize,
Okay.
I was misinformed, so
Okay.
I'm sorry
I-
if it came across.
Yeah, that's okay. I understand that information hasn't come until I could get here. And maybe in hindsight, when I drove through town and I was thinking about it, I should have called the town hall that afternoon and said, hi, I drove through your town and looked at a building here. But there was nothing to tell you. So, let me take your question, and then I'm going to go back and talk about the screening, because Carol started kind of talking about that a little.
Who are these people, bro?
Okay, hang on a second. Let me get this lady first, and then I may end up answering that very same question.
That wasn't my question.
Where are the people from? That wasn't your, oh, sorry, I misheard.
Hi, I'm Linda Mays Hebert. I'm kind of a bottom line girl, and I want you to know I don't doubt your validity, what you're doing. Carol, I am going to ask that you don't prejudge that we're all thinking it's bad people and we're negative on that. That's not quite fair. We're all here because we love Stafford. We want the best. I would, number one, like to know, can you name another small town that is doing what you're talking about and it took away their only motel, and how that worked out? Number two, I'm hoping that our current mayor, Julie Lyon, and Carolyn Dunn are here. I don't know. But if they are not here, that disappoints me. But if we look at what Stafford needs, again, I'm sure everything you're doing is great, and you can give more info and screening and statistics. There are those here that will love that. Like I said, I'm a bottom line girl. It's not about that. It's taking away our motel. And that, I mean, personally, we have 2 family events in July that we've already booked.
Okay.
There's Oktoberfest,
Okay.
there's funerals,
Okay.
there's weddings, gatherings that we won't have anywhere to put people because we don't have a Holiday Inn Express over here. So it is nothing about what you're doing. You're doing great, I'm sure. It's just, for me, not the best for Stafford.
I appreciate that, and I appreciate your vote of confidence. I am pleased at the work we've been able to do. With regards to the motel, one of the pieces that is still a little up in the air, okay, and that's, again, part of why I'm here, is that I don't need every single one of those spaces. Now, I don't know how much space folks need. I don't know whether there is any feasibility for that, or if you have some parts of it that are apartments, and folks are going to be in their apartments just like folks are in the other apartments, but there are still rooms left, if that is helpful or completely a ridiculous idea. Okay, but
it doesn't seem realistic to me, and you've been honest about saying there's no contract. I'm praying that this isn't just a formality so you can, so everybody can say we had a town meeting, but really it's kind of a done deal.
Not with me.
No? Okay.
Not with me.
Okay, those are my comments.
So,
Thank you.
I mean,
But you're not fired.
I'm sorry?
You already said you're not fired.
I'm not what? The buyer. I am not the buyer. No. So let me explain the pieces to that, and let me explain why Carolyn and Julie are not here. Seriously, let me explain why Carolyn and Julie aren't here. Carolyn and Julie are not here because I asked them not to be. Okay, if I could finish my sentence, that was the rest of the sentence. Okay? They are not here because I wanted to be able to explain and get feedback on what kind of services, and let the community know what kind of screening and what kind of folks. Because that's the only part of the deal I have, that I control at all.
How many people are you going to be bringing?
Okay, right now the max is 8. Okay, again, I don't have a contract with the state. If it needs to be 6, if it needs to be 9, whatever. I've got flexibility. That's why I'm here. Okay? The buyer is not here because honestly, that's a private thing. I don't even know how much the freaking hotel costs.
Why would Carolyn and Julie not
I asked them not to be here because I wanted to be able to keep this conversation focused on the people coming in rather than whether or not that sale happens. What I do know is there is not a contract for sale. And what I do know is that the buyer who has looked at it that is associated with me is only interested in buying that if my services and support are part of the deal. Like I mentioned,
How in the world did somebody out of Topeka or Kansas City or wherever knows this place is for sale? Not a single person around here knows other than Carolyn and I'm done.
This is the piece that
This was a backdoor sale. I'll kiss your ass.
this is the piece that I don't know the answer to.
They should have been here then so they could answer it.
Well, I may have made a bad decision on that, but I was really hopeful that I could share information about the kinds of folks, the kinds of screening, and get some kind of feedback from the community. Folks have raised some really great ideas in terms of the transport. Carolyn has mentioned that, yeah, these folks have case managers. They're doing transport. Where are these folks going to shop? Well, I would imagine for their groceries, they're probably going to shop uptown like the rest of us. If they want something that's not available in town, they'll probably get it off Amazon, or maybe their case manager will take them to Great Bend or Hutch or Pratt to shop for clothing or whatever else they can't buy here. Huh?
You said you had 8 people in mind.
Are
these people from this area?
You know, they could be. So here's,
They could be.
well, hang on.
Number one,
Okay.
are they citizens of the United States? Will they be citizens?
Yes, they will be U.S. citizens. Okay. They will absolutely choose. So I swear I'll get you in 1 second. So the way the screening works, okay, and I'm going to take a for instance that it's a person who's living at Haviland, okay? Carol is going to know who of her people might be ready and stable enough to come and live in an apartment with some support services as well as the community mental health center. She's going to know that. I'm going to call her and I'm going to say, Carolyn, I have a property in Stafford. There is 8 apartments. Do you have anybody who you think would be ready to go? And she's going to say, tell me about your services, tell me about, right, all of these pieces. And she's going to say, okay, let me look. Gee, Sue, I might have 2. I am then, my staff and the community mental health center staff and Carol's staff are going to talk through what is going on with that person. Are they taking their medications regularly? Have they ever been violent? What do they like to do? Where are they from? Are they from Stafford County and just really wanting to get back home? Are they from another small town? Are they someone who actually really always wanted to live in a small town, and part of what made things rough for them is they were living in a bigger town? After those conversations are held, and I will tell you, in Emporia, we had about 5 people, and I ruled out 3 of them, and the Community Mental Health Center ruled out another one. And we went back, and we ended up with 2.
So they're going to be
So
self-sufficient already.
they are going to be this close to self-sufficient. They are going to be this close to self-sufficient, but like Carol said, they having someone who will check in and just, did you take your meds? How are you doing? Someone was worried about, boy, are they falling apart here? We're going to know that because we're seeing them every day.
Now, if this was
Okay, this poor gentleman has waited so long. Please come up. Thank you for your patience.
My name's Jim Ellington, and I live in Stafford County. I'm retired chief investigator for the Office of Housing and Community Development.
Okay.
I spent 20 years cleaning up messes. I don't want the mess here. I lived a lifetime of this. I could have written 2 books. I've been involved in migrant housing, affordable housing, Section 8 housing. I had 27 people that worked for me, and I did nothing but clean up disasters. In all my career, I can't think of a worse location for this type of housing. The only reason that I can think that it might be put here is because 1, we're zoning vulnerable, or 2, we're in the middle of nowhere and it's out of sight, out of mind.
Thank you for sharing your background, your expertise. What I can tell you is my properties, I'm not going to run them if they are not safe and decent. I think Carol, I may have told her that the potential buyer here bought one of my properties. It was 2 years of us dialoguing before I was sure he was going to be a landlord that was going to keep that property up and make that property better and maintain it. Because
Are all the properties successful? Have you had any failures?
Nope.
None.
None.
Any sexual predators?
No sexual predators. I'm sorry.
Facilities are in a town. We're not shouting. It's not acceptable.
Okay, sorry.
Could you circle back to another small town having
Yes.
this like I have?
Yes, I'm sorry. There's an awful lot going on at once.
Okay.
So far, I do not have any properties in a town this small. Part of what is appealing to me about Stafford is living in a small town myself and having worked with folks with mental illness for years. I know a lot of them do better when there are not a lot of distractions and things going on. There'll be programming there, but yeah, they might want to, probably not in the 110-degree heat, go up to the library and get a library book. Or maybe their case manager drives them. They might want to go get a cup of coffee at the cafe. Okay? They may want to, frankly, probably if I hadn't come here, you wouldn't necessarily know that the people who would live there would be any different than anybody else. My folks don't look weird. I know the model works.
We don't have a Starbucks or a Dunkin' Donuts.
We are
don't have.
neither.
We need the
Neither
motel's
the other.
revenue.
Okay.
Every business in this town benefits from that motel's revenue for 4 months out of the year. How are we going to replace that?
Yes, jump in.
One of the things I would like to point out to you is that there is Greensburg. Greensburg has transitional housing. They have transitional housing, they have apartments there, they have numerous mental health clients there. The town of Kinsley also has shared supportive housing. They're actually,
They should go there.
mental health center, Miracle Center actually manages all of that. And so what I tell you is that there is some spots there. I don't know what High Plains has, other places up north, so those mental health centers. But coming back to the revenue for the motel, one of my questions for you guys, and I'm just asking because simply as well, guys, if someone asks to sell a property, if you guys are interested in it, maybe as a community of Stafford, come together and do it.
Maybe there should be a referendum on that. Maybe there should be some discussion about that.
But that's what I'm saying, that guys, one of the hard parts about it is that when, and you guys, I'm just going for the idea if I was selling my own property. If I'm selling my house in St. John, well, but that's what I'm saying though, is if I'm selling my house in St. John, or if, I'll tell you what, we sold a business in St. John. My family owns St. John Welding over there for years. They ran the business for 50 years. Okay?
We have people calling us already, wanting to know if it's okay to come in October.
Well, and that's, and it definitely should be, because I've heard.
The outfitters have no
isn't
place
going-
to put people.
This isn't going anywhere for now. This is strictly, guys, that's what this meeting is simply just to try to open it up.
Why
so
don't we
guys
grant
can-
us the construction of a new motel? Since we're busy grant writing, my office handled grants too.
Okay.
Well, and that's the thing is,
Let's
that's
look at some
beyond like.
CPGD funds and see what we can do.
Well, and that's beyond something I can do, but one of the things, that's what I'm gonna tell you though, is that, just like this is over there, the welding shop, we didn't go to all these people and say, we're selling this, because who wants to buy a welding shop?
It's a lie.
Oh, I'm so
I'm
sorry.
sorry.
It's
Sorry.
a lie. We're trying to
You know-
record this.
Okay, so guys, that's what I'm saying is, if you have some other thoughts, that's what Sue's needing to hear so she can take that back. This isn't a done deal. She needs to hear some of these things from you guys so she knows how to go back to people and say, this is what the city of Stafford's looking at.
So answer the question, how much of every dollar comes back into the county or back into the city?
I don't know any of that.
Situation, how much?
They're asking what comes back, if anything comes back to the city, because that's a private property then, right?
Yeah.
Anyone wanting to ask a question, please come to the mic so we can get it recorded.
My name is Denise McNichol Bullock. I grew up in Stafford. I still own property here. I would like to know if the private investor is the landlord, if this deal goes through,
Yes.
where does that person live and what kind of oversight is he going to provide in Stafford, Kansas?
That person lives in Kansas City, and the oversight he will provide is through me. I will basically be in charge of not only the support services, but the property management, like I am on the other 44 places that we do. And that would be how that works.
Okay, if you're doing that at 44 other properties, how often do you conceivably think you would be in Stafford, Kansas?
Me personally, as often as I needed to be, but I would be hiring staff, and I would certainly hope that I'm hiring staff who are near Stafford. If not, I would
Have you driven around the county much?
I'd say good luck.
Yes, I have.
We run co-ops around here and you can't find no help. So
Yep.
what,
I hear you. Hiring is very difficult right now.
so what my question it would be the biggest is, what is your turnaround rate?
I'm
The
sorry.
turnaround rate, so you're exposing these people to try to get them to overcome their situations.
Over 20, okay, if you figure I've got 44 properties, 44 units, okay, 44 apartments. And I think it's about 200 people since 2001. Average length of stay is generally 2 years, but I've got folks who moved in there in 2001 and will be there for the rest of their lives, just like some, what's the average length of stay in any apartment building, right? Some folks get their apartment, they like it, they stay, or in any house. Now, I've been in my house 20 years. I was in 6 other houses when I was younger and moving around until I found the small town that I wanted to live in, and I've been 20 years, but I was every 2 or 3 years because my husband was getting transferred.
I say if we're trying to help these people
Right.
and you're bringing them to a small town as this, what is there for them to do then? I mean, you're going to keep them there as a prison because
Absolutely not.
what are we doing?
Yeah. What they'll do is this is going to sound flippant. I don't mean it to sound flippant. They're going to do the same thing that any resident of a small town
But we can
does.
We have our
Many of my residents have cars and drive, or 1 or 2 of them do, and I've got one guy who he drives, and he absolutely doesn't have the upper body strength to carry his groceries. His guy in the apartment next to him, plenty burly, doesn't have a car. They go to the grocery store together. The one guy drives, the other guy carries. So part of what our support does is help folks figure those things out. So folks are not prevented from having a car any more than Anybody else is prevented from having a car.
Our critical care is between 40 and 80 miles away from here. It costs $40,000 to send someone over the helicopter. Also, I'm sure that there's probably insurance somewhere that will handle that for them.
Yep.
But in the event that they get in trouble or they have issues here, and we have to put them somewhere, we have no jail. We have to carry them to another community and pay for their food, lodging, and whatever is associated with that. We have no money for that. We can't take anyone anywhere.
We have no resources.
Resources come in from outside from us and from the community mental health centers, okay, because they are mobile, they come into town, okay, so folks don't have to be taken. I've had one resident in all my time who needed critical care. She was a veteran, and she ended up with ovarian cancer and had to be hospitalized. I'm not taking folks who are medically fragile. This isn't a nursing home. Carol's Place is fabulous. I'm not putting a new one up here.
How are the solid waste issues policed up? I mean, if you get online, you can go to 1,000 sites in California, and they're basically a landfill from homeless people and indigents. Do you have any issues at all with that?
Solid waste, you're talking like...
Garbage, trash in the front yard, you know, wherever they live?
No.
No, they're all pretty tight.
No, I don't have any of the problems with my property.
Did you bring images of your property?
I didn't. I'd be happy to do that.
Like a PowerPoint we could
I didn't. I figured I wanted to know what the community wanted to know. We are being recorded here, and I can get those, and you guys can put them up on YouTube. And I hope somebody is writing some of that down somewhere so that I honor my promises, because I absolutely
44
can.
apartments, how many complexes?
44 apartments. There's a 10, there's an 8, there's a 10, there's an 8, there's an 8, and
How
the
small is the town?
smallest town would be Ottawa.
I'm not from.
Okay, so I don't know the population of Ottawa off the top of my head. I can.
And it's within 80 miles of Kansas City.
And they
Okay.
literally
All
hire
of her
California
facilities are within
because they have a hard time hiring people out here. So how is this going to benefit this town?
Okay. Okay.
I just want to know how it's going to benefit this town.
Oh, sorry.
How would it benefit the town?
Well-
What is it going to bring to this town?
You will have guaranteed utilities paid. You will have guaranteed cleanup on the property. You will have folks who are involved in the local economy. Chances of them, they'll be buying food. They'll be doing
Is it
whatever.
going to create any jobs for this town? Is it going to bring taxes to the town? Is it going to make this town a
Okay.
better place?
In terms of jobs, I will need at least one residential manager. Again, it's not 24/7. I'm not building a facility.
Okay.
I would love anybody who knows anybody who would be interested in that to give me a call, but probably not yet because we're a ways out.
Okay.
Okay, and I'm going to talk about timing, but you talked about some of the motel issue and people asking about that, so don't let me forget to do that. Okay? In terms of what it's doing for taxes, I don't know what the taxes are like, and that's part of the piece that I don't know. I don't pay taxes on my services. Taxes would come from the property.
No, and I don't mean
So
to
I don't
be-
know the answer to that.
I don't mean to be ignorant, I
No.
don't mean to be flippant, I
No,
don't mean to
that's
be
fine.
disrespectful. I just want to know how it's going to benefit this town. This town has such potential, and that is why I moved out here from California. My brother came out from California a few years ago, and it's such a quiet, peaceful town. So
It's a terrific town.
what can this facility bring to help make this town better? That's what I want to know.
I'm sorry, some of the,
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
some of the people that would come like from my facility, if anybody comes from my facility in the first place, these people are going to bring people to be in your town. I mean, good people. People that just want to be among people and be able to enjoy life. I mean, so what's it going to bring to your town value-wise over? What does it bring to your town when somebody moves in from out of town now? I mean, that's the part that I struggle with. Is because, guys, I'm very passionate about the clients I work with. I've been there since January of '94.
And believe me, I'm very
No,
passionate.
I understand. Let me finish a second. So what I'm saying is, am I going to tell you that it's going to bring a whole lot of big things to your town? No, but I do know what it could bring to these people.
It's closing one of 5 businesses we have left in this town.
We're the entrance to Caldera National Wildlife.
And the thing is guys, if that's something you guys are interested in changing that up to continue that revenue in town, that's up to the people of Stafford. I think that's great if it's something you guys want to do.
We need a motel.
Real quick, because I promised, and there was a real specific, like we've got people who want to know about Oktoberfest and 4th of July and all that. What I can tell you is I can absolutely guarantee nothing's going to happen for about 6 months in terms of anybody coming in. Okay? That's,
What about next year?
Can we tell our people that they have a place to stay in a few months?
yes. Yes. Yeah.
6 months.
Yeah, I would virtually guarantee that if this all goes through, and there's a whole lot of ifs.
I mean, this calls are going to go to Pennsylvania, they're going to go to Florida. This is not
Okay.
this needs to be a factual 100% guarantee thing.
Right. I can guarantee it's not going to happen before Christmas. I guarantee there will not be people in there before Christmas. Yeah, if it happens at all. So I don't know that doesn't answer next year. And again, if the town wants to talk to Carolyn about the motel, if there are people in this town who want to buy the motel, go for it. I don't. Yeah.
Since it's on the market, what is the price of the
I don't
motel?
know. I have no idea. I frankly don't know. I can give you Carolyn's number, but I bet most of you have
If
it.
something is for sale, there should be an avenue for someone to buy them. Where is the
That-
realtor site? Where is the?
I don't believe it's been listed. I don't know that. That's a
Folks,
terrible
Carolyn
question.
Dunn owns the motel privately. You can contact her if you want to know the price of it. I can't make her be here.
Yeah, and I will
you know,
take
she does-
responsibility for asking her.
Well, she probably didn't want to be here.
No, she did. Yeah, I will testify that Carolyn asked me again yesterday if she could be here. My intention was to gather information about the services and the concerns of the community to see whether this made sense for my organization in this town. I don't,
Why
I
wouldn't
don't
you
care.
want her to hear it and the mayor? Why would you not want?
All right, it's being recorded. That's why I'm trying to get everybody up here to the mic. Because anybody that's not here,
Why would she not want him to hear it first?
I can't answer that for
I'm
you.
not asking you.
Okay.
why would I?
Our town don't want your organization.
Not our motel.
Come to the front if you have a comment, please.
I guarantee it's recorded.
Yes, this man's been waiting, so we're going to give him a mic.
You've kind of spoken to what the requirements are for people
Yes.
to move into your facilities. And I think you mentioned early on, sorry. You spoke earlier about incidents that you've had.
Yep.
Okay, can you speak to what the gentleman that was up here earlier mentioned that some of the other facilities have had, I think he was talking about in California, having solid waste, garbage, et cetera, on the property. What can you tell us about a removal process if one of your residents doesn't, fails to meet requirements, what have you, of living there? I guess is my question.
Okay, so got two things going, so I'm going to maybe answer both, and I hope I hit one of them. So if my residents are not keeping the place clean and neat and trashing the place out, we're going to work with them. I apologize for going down a story, but I had a guy who kept getting evicted because he was trashing his apartments. We started watching what was happening. He was taking his garbage and putting it in a garbage can. And when the garbage can overflowed on the floor, it was left on the floor. And we asked him, why don't you take out the garbage? And he's like, what? I don't mean this as a slam, Carolyn. He had either been homeless, where there was no such thing as a dumpster or an outside trash can, or he'd been living in a hospital or a facility where there was housekeeping who picked up the trash can. He had no clue about the dumpster. All it took was us saying, hey, you know what? I'm going to go outside. Why don't you walk with me? Grab that trash. Let's take it to the dumpster. He had no clue. This is some of the pieces that get our people in trouble, and that's some of the support we provide is to help them figure out some of the things that they didn't get to learn or that they forgot along the way when they were living in a locked facility. Okay? In terms of solid waste removal, I am quite sure we will contract to get the trash removed from the property the same way everybody else does in town. I mean, and I hope that didn't sound flip. If you're talking about a person who starts having psychiatric difficulties, again, that's where our staff is going to work with them and manage them. The community mental health centers are going to work with them and manage them. And if they absolutely cannot manage, and again, out of all the people, I have had 2 who have actually had to be hospitalized, that we have not been able to nip it in the bud, at that point, they'll go to the hospital. And if they are stable enough after that, they would come home. If you have a heart condition, you probably need to live at home and maybe you need some home health. If you have a full-blown heart attack despite your best efforts, you're going to go to the hospital. If you can't be medically stabilized, you might have to go into a rehab facility. You might have to go into a nursing facility. But if you're stabilized, you're going to go back home. Same kind of thing. But I'm sorry that I missed your question, so try me again.
I just wanted to know, basically, if there's in a normal landlord-tenant situation, you can get evicted for any number of things. Is that the same scenario that you have in your facility?
Yes, thank you. Now I understand your question.
Sorry.
Yes. The way that piece is structured with the structure with the potential buyer that I have on my other property is he is the owner and the landlord. I am the lessee. Every resident is a sublessee to me. He could theoretically evict me, and I could theoretically stop subleasing, and he could make me do that.
Okay.
Did that answer that? Finally, I'm sorry for going down.
That's a little more. I had a second question.
Sure.
Can you speak to what % of your residents are veterans in all your facilities?
In my property in Leavenworth, 80% are veterans, which, it's in Leavenworth. In my other properties, I would say it's probably 20 to 30%. I take that back. The Kansas City, Missouri property, we had some folks turn over and have had an influx of veterans, and that is probably 50% veterans. Yeah. And Kansas City, Missouri is 8, Leavenworth is 10. And you guys are probably starting to see a pattern in the numbers.
I'm very perplexed because I don't feel like anything's been answered for the rent. No,
Okay.
the rent.
Okay, how many apartments are in each place? Is that what you're looking for? My desired number of apartments in any place is somewhere between 8 and 12 in any place. Because much more than 12 it gets a little hard to manage. Much less than 8, it gets hard for those folks to build any kind of community and do the kind of, I'll carry your groceries if you'll drive me to the store kind of stuff.
So if you had 8, then you're talking about half of those places would be empty, or would it be like half hotel, half, Mayflower Gardens?
Okay, so the concept, okay, is to take some of the current motel rooms, okay, and cut between the walls, so 2 rooms would become 1 apartment.
So you would have a total of 10 units with the motel right now, so that's 20 rooms.
I believe it's got 17, but my math may be off. I think we ended up with 11, but that's a little, again, that's a little flexible depending on exactly how the renovations would happen, and I have not sent a contractor in to do that, because, yeah, it's really premature.
Hi, thank you for coming out today and talking to us. I do appreciate your guys' mission. I really do, but the town of Stafford is not equipped for this. Ottawa is one of your smallest cities. It's 12 times larger than us. Kansas City's 486,000 people, which is 486% larger than us. We don't have the resources medically, professionally, mental health-wise, police-wise, anything. I don't understand this. I'm going to ask you one direct question. I'm going to make a statement, and because I know you've been peppered. I think this is a done deal already anyways, but anyhow, has Carolyn Dunn ever contacted you for your organization and or any of your investors to buy her property?
Okay, so in order to answer you honestly, okay, the way you frame, are you ready?
Yes,
Sorry.
ma'am.
Okay. In order to, has Carolyn contacted me? Yes. The first call, okay, came from Carolyn to say, Andy Brown from KDADS said that you might be willing to look at this. So the first call came from Carolyn to me. I am reasonably sure I said, I don't buy properties, but I have a guy who does and who partners with me. Let me see whether he is interested in a conversation at all. And that was who came to Stafford some months ago, met Carolyn, looked at the motel, because when I looked at the motel, it's like, I don't want single bedrooms. And how do we convert it? And is this even feasible?
Sure. I understand
Did that answer that?
Yes, yes.
Okay, good. I'm sorry?
Yes. Earlier you said the state called you.
The state called me and said, there is a property. That was the first I heard of it. Truly. I mean, I can go pull my notes on it. The state called.
Guys, can I ask my question, please? I've waited patiently, held my hand up. Anyways, this is pretty much a done deal. So I challenge our city. We have a lot of smart citizens in our city. I'm going to talk to you guys now. Challenge the city council. I can't vote for city council. I happen to have a Stafford address but live in the country. Challenge our city council not to allow this in. Find a way. If we had $1 million bond for a swimming pool, which I love, we could figure this one out. It's that simple. City council can challenge this. And I would like you to take this clip back. Anybody by round of applause, a little yelling, that thinks it's cowardice of our county economic development coordinator and our mayor not to be there, please clap your hands if you feel free.
I appreciate that, and I absolutely will take all the heat for them not being there. I absolutely would, because I said, please don't. I need to be able to hear from the community about their concerns about the possible end use, not whether the motel should or shouldn't be for sale. I needed to hear that.
If they were two private citizens, I would understand my question.
Okay.
It's the mayor of our town.
Okay.
The mayor of our town has known for 6 months what's been going on here and has allowed these rumors to run around rampant to take the heat, regardless of what you told her. She's a grown lady.
You should have overruled that.
Yep. And Carolyn Dunn is in charge of economic development for Stafford County. She should have said, I gotta be there. I understand what you want.
And Julie's boss.
Yeah, Carolyn is Julie's boss.
Oh, okay, sorry. Thank you.
Okay, my first questions are actually to you, and I think you're going to tell me you can't answer this first one. Would the renovations be local?
Absolutely.
Would they choose local people for the renovations?
Absolutely.
Oh, you can answer it. Okay, good.
Yes, absolutely. There is no way.
I mean local Stafford contractors.
Yes,
Or,
there's
for
no
lack
way.
of a better word.
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. I can answer that.
Is your mental health center, is it the center out of Great Bend?
No.
Okay, I took it that you said it was. Okay.
No, it is not.
Okay, yeah, so then where is it?
My physical corporate address, and I will.
No, I didn't mean yours. I'm sorry. I meant the case managers and such that came. I'm sorry. I didn't phrase that very well. Yes.
The case management will come out of Great Bend.
Okay. I have lots of experience and they're actually very good. They come into the school, I think maybe 5 days a week. So it is them for the case
Yes.
management. I'm sorry. I knew where I've actually done research. I actually have 5 pages of research that I did. My second part goes more off the gym, so please don't take it personally. We're talking about saving our hotel. Maybe we need to talk to our economic development, and I'm not looking for applause. Maybe we need to talk to our economic development to help us keep a hotel in Stafford. They've done it for their other communities. I'm not looking for applause. And that's nothing against you.
No. And if this community wants the hotel, please do something.
How many
Please do
signatures
something
on
about
the
this.
petition do we need to stop this?
You don't need any signatures on the petition. There is no petition.
That's our only choice. That's it. We have one choice. City council needs to lead the way. That's it. Yes, you do. 3 out of 4 people have the power.
How far into this are you guys already? How many signatures? How far into it are you? I mean, has the property already been sold?
No, that was one of the first things I said, and I've said it at least 3 times tonight.
So if
The
the town
prop-
is against it, are you still gonna go through with it?
Can I answer the first question, and then I promise I'll answer the second
Sorry, I
question?
mean, you don't
I get that. I live with that in my house. 1, the property has not been sold. I am not a party to the sale. I do not know the amount that is being asked. There is not a contract for sale on that property. If folks want to buy the property, or folks want to figure out something to keep the hotel, I would encourage you to contact the property owner. I got nothing on that. Okay? And I apologize once again that I asked her not to be here because I was really hoping we weren't going to be talking about the property. But we are. Okay? So there's 1. Okay, hang on. Number 2, how far is mine? I do not even have a draft of a contract from the state for support services.
You don't have a draft.
I don't.
mean, it sounds
I
like
have.
this has been thought out pretty well.
Right, I wrote a proposal and I wrote a budget. That's the first thing you do, and then it goes through various iterations, right? I have a verbal that, Sue, we want you to do permanent supportive housing. I don't have an ironclad that it has to be in Stafford either. Okay? That part, that's why I'm saying I don't have a contract with the state yet. Someday I will. But right now it doesn't say, you are going to do this in Stafford, and I have signed it, and anybody else has signed it. That's why I'm here tonight, is before any of that happened. Did I get everything?
I just
Okay.
can't see how this could be successful, and it's the only
Yes.
Guys, I just want to reiterate one more time, I'm no expert on city council, and no city council expert in any stretch of imagination. We have 4 council members here in Stafford because 1 position's vacant. It's going to take 3 of them to overrule or do something to help stop this, I would imagine. So, yeah. They can institute, I'm not talking about stopping the sale, I'm talking about instituting laws and business procedures that would jam this thing up. What are we going to do, sit here and cry? So or put a bond on the ballot initiative to buy it. So, because this is a done deal. I'm telling you, we could sit here the rest of the night, this is a done deal on their end. I've been through 10 zillion corporate presentations in my life, and they massage bad news very well. She's done a pretty good job. But it's bad news. They're coming if we don't stop it. That's that simple.
Whether they feel welcome or not. What is KDAD?
Oh, KDAD is the Kansas Department of Aging and Disability Services.
So that's the state person that was contacted that this was for sale?
That is the state person who contacted me, said, hey, there's a property.
No, but that's under KDAD.
Yeah, that's a division under.
KDAD has got many divisions.
Right. He's the first person who reached out. Carolyn then reached out.
Any local contractor look in over there?
When I was in town, I asked Jeff Meyer to take a quick look and see if it was even remotely possible to make the renovations. So no, he was not hired. I said, can you tell me whether this is even possible? Because if it's not, well, I got nothing else to say. Well, okay, anything's possible. I mean, I suppose we could knock the whole thing down and start from scratch, but that wasn't the point. Right.
Okay, so what I'm gathering, the issue is losing the motel.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, what does everybody think about what they started out explaining as far as helping people? What does everybody think about that? I mean, is it a good deal or a bad deal? Okay, that's all I need to hear. Now, who else, besides Ginger, any other council members here? Myra? Sitting back there listening to everything. My thought, you're an investor. Buy some of these properties the city has bought up. Build a duplex, small duplex, from this wall to that wall, that deep. Think about it. My wife and I own the grocery store. It's going to benefit us. It's going to benefit the lumberyard. It's going to benefit the cafes, the city.
So will somebody at some point, before we all leave tonight, tell me who I can contact or have the investor contact to find out about other properties?
Right here, you got 2 city council members.
Got it.
And that,
Awesome.
sorry, I was going to mention the land bank too.
Perfect.
I mean, once you guys get houses done, your investors can purchase them.
May I add something to that? That's actually one of the things that Havlin, we were trying to do is get someone to purchase houses, even over in Havlin, because that's what we'd like to do with some of our clients, is move them into small houses. So guys, what I want to do is just try, just like you guys want to help people.
But
So
we
something
can
like that would be
keep
great.
keep our motel,
Yeah.
but yet still benefit. And who all wants to help out a veteran? You know, and we had one guy here in town that he was a character, he was a veteran, and he needed help, and as a director of Legion Riders, we tried to get him help, but he refused. And that's where you guys come in.
That's what we want to do. You guys help us.
And I had to call Officer Jimmy there several times.
In the city of St. John, when we have had things over there, we do have people in St. John that have mental illness, that live in their homes. And I have gone and helped with some of them because they know I work at a facility. It's what I do for a living. So if you guys have somebody over here, I would be glad to give anybody my number. I will come over and help. I will help get anybody screened, get them to the hospital, whatever I need to do, because that's my passion. That's what I do all the time. So please understand, if you guys can do something for clients here, thank you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart, and I'd be glad to help with any of that.
Okay. Not to change the subject real quick, but I'd like to get back to your business.
Okay.
You said that you signed contracts with the state.
No, I have not.
I mean, do you have any contract in Leavenworth or different?
I own Leavenworth, and I own the property in Leavenworth, and Leavenworth is funded with federal funds through a grant process.
It's a different deal.
Well, it's different funding streams, and
So what department were you looking at, like social services type or department?
In Leavenworth, it's U.S.
No,
Department
like
of,
if it would land up here.
I would probably see whether, one, I'm not using any government money to buy, okay? I'm using government money to do the support services, and I may be able to get some renovation money out of there too, to spend on local contractors. Okay, so that was the proposal I made for the state is, need a little renovation money, need the support services money.
What I'm driving at.
But the investor would have to figure out where he's getting the money to buy the houses. I don't have money to buy houses, and the state's not giving me money to buy anything.
What I'm driving at is a lot of churches in the state have signed like a 501c3 type deal. And
Right.
would you be subject to the similar type?
Yes, I am a 501c3. I am a
Okay.
nonprofit organization.
That's what I was wondering.
Yep, good question. Thank you. We have been going on for a while. I would love it if folks would let me pass out my business cards. And if you want my cell phone, you can write it down. And if you don't want my business cards and never want to call me again, you don't have to take one. But if you do have questions or whatever, this has certainly been videotaped. And I will please ask the council folks and the land bank folks to stay long enough that I can get your contact information so I can pass that along. This has been hard on you. It's been a little hard on me, but I at least feel like I got why I came. And that is to get a better understanding of the community, to get a better understanding of how they feel about things and about helping people and about any alternatives or options that I ought to be thinking of. So I thank you all for your time tonight. And, one last question, come get it. And I will hang out up, I'm going to go wander through and pass my
I
business.
just wondered if you would clarify something for
Certainly.
me. When you said there will be no people there by December,
Right.
does that mean the sale will not take place before then?
I don't know that.
You
I am
have
not
no
part-
idea when the sale will
I do
take
not.
place?
I am not part of the sale. The reason that I can make that projection, okay, is having just done this similar kind of thing with a lesser number of people and a similar state contract, it took at least 7 months to get all the way through, including the conversation with Carol and the conversation with Center and the conversation with a possible resident as to whether they wanted to come to Stafford. So I can tell you from my end, it's going to be 7 months before things line up. I don't know
Have
when
you
the heck the
ever
sales happen.
considered, perhaps if you're wanting to put something like, I have I have nothing against handicapped, and I support veterans 100%. Maybe in this type of a situation, if this happens, you should have a committee formed in this town and let them help decide who gets placed there.
That is
You can sit down and visit with the person and have some idea. I'm all for veterans.
You know, that is actually an interesting idea. There are a couple of privacy hurdles that would have to be cleared, but I don't think that's necessarily completely impossible. I mean, we wouldn't want 7 because, it's a bit overwhelming, but that is not out of the realm of possibility.
Well, I've sat here and listened. We're being told they're not coming out of penitentiaries. They don't use drugs.
Yep.
They can take care of themselves, yet they don't know what a dumpster is. I don't know what to think. I'm leaving very confused, more than I was when I came in.
Okay. If folks want like a 5-minute detour about mental illness and why these folks don't know what a dumpster is?
No, we don't need that.
Okay. It basically has to do with when it strikes a person and what they then don't learn that the rest of us do because of when they get sick.
Okay, I do have a question. When we deal with mental health, and we all probably know someone who has had mental health issues, as long as they're on their meds, they are okay. We understand that it's an illness. It's something that they have no control over. But my concern is, like this gentleman back here was saying, is when they have a meltdown, it can be very quick, and it can be very sudden, and it can be very dangerous. So I'm thinking of we as citizens in this community. We have a nursing home with cottages behind. We have a lot of little children who run around and play, ride their bicycles around. So there's a little bit of an issue of safety here. And I am also concerned about our law enforcement, very concerned, because they get into some really dire, dangerous situations sometimes. And if somebody is having a real meltdown, there is no place really for them to take them very quickly. I'm not sure they're able to deal with all of this. And I'm also concerned about it costs our city and it costs our county for our officers or our sheriff's officers to transport these people. And so this is a real concern. It's going to be a cost to us, the taxpayers of this county and of this town. I'm just saying that this is I understand this illness and that people can be helped, and I'm all for that. I'm not against it at all. But I see some scenarios where this could be a dangerous situation that could happen in just instance and put our people in danger. You can respond or not. That's all I need to know.
Okay. Couple of pieces. One of the things that we are screening for is this person taking their meds? Are they going to take their meds when Carol's staff is not handing it to them with a glass of water? If they're not ready to come out. Okay, so that is one of my first questions right there.
Okay, my question is there going to be somebody there to make sure that they're on their meds every day?
This is not a facility. I don't want to sound flippant, but most of us don't have someone every single day watching to make sure we took our high blood pressure pills or that we didn't forget our heart medication or what have you.
These people, according to this, have mental health issues.
Sure.
There can be meltdowns. There can be things go wrong that maybe they will not take their medicines. I'm just saying we could be put in a situation very quickly.
They will not have 24/7 care of someone.
That's what I'm saying. There won't be somebody there 24 hours a day.
If they are not able to take their meds and stay stable, I'm not taking them. Okay?
I know some people that have health issues. Most of the time they're very well. They're very capable of taking care of themselves at home.
Yep.
But eventually, some of them will slip a little bit. I'm just saying there's going to come that day.
Yeah, please, because I'm trying to process.
One of the things that even when we move people to Greensburg, to the setting over there when there's availability. And so one of the things that we work with as we teach people in the community, like the case managers, or anybody coming in, or the on-site person that comes in maybe one day or whatever, they're going to be looking for patterns in somebody to see things. And that's actually what we train our staff in, and that's what the mental health center trains their staff in. And so we start looking for patterns like watching different things, like did they do something out of the norm that they wouldn't do on a regular basis. And so that's where it helps with some of that. Over at with the Iroquois Center, they've got numerous apartments over there that they've got people in, supported housing, and all these different places. And the one thing is, they don't go into those apartments every day with many of their clients, but what happens is that they've learned about the client, and they look for those patterns. And so the process works very well. And so that's one of the things. Now, can something slip through? Absolutely. But what I'm telling you is, we've come to find out that when the people that we're actually screening to move to the community, they're ready for this. We're not sending somebody out that we know is going to walk out the door and say, yeah, I don't want to take my meds today.
Yes.
And so I just want you to be aware that there are safeguards put in place before they ever leave, and with the community mental health center, ma'am.
I think you also have to understand we're a very small community with not a lot of activities for people to do. So
Most of these folks don't
boredom
look
brings
for
on
you.
a lot of issues sometimes. Okay, I'm just concerned about the safety of our community.
Yeah, I realized one thing that I never said. Staff are 40 hours a week, and they are 40 hours depending on when it makes sense. I've got some properties where the residents are like, you know what, 7 o'clock, don't be hanging out by my apartment, I'm watching my shows. Others want us there till 8. Some want us there on Saturdays. Sometimes we're like, hey, we're coming up on Saturday because we're a little concerned because Bob seemed unusually irritable yesterday. We want to check on it. Okay, so the staff has got flexible schedules, but it's not like they're there just one day a week, but they are not living on site 24/7.
Are they living in town?
Hang on a
Are they
second.
living in Stafford? Are they living in Stafford?
I'm sorry you had to yell. I haven't hired them yet.
Well,
I
mean,
don't know.
Would that be a requirement, I guess, would be my question. Just see, huh?
Oh, the staff member?
Yes.
Yes.
No, not from, well, yes, from Stafford would be great.
Yeah, from
My question
Stafford is
is,
what I
would
want.
they be required to live in Stafford so that
I
if there
would-
was an issue?
I would look for them to be extremely close if they weren't living in Stafford. For example, okay, in my Kansas City, Missouri, my person does not live in Kansas City, Missouri.
Right, but that's a lot
She lives-
different.
Okay, but I'm saying they live 20 miles away. Carol, how far do you live from Haviland? Okay, so I am expecting that whoever I've got is able to give quick response.
Would that person, if there was an issue, I know you said you've only had 3 or whatever, would they be, would their phone number and such be available to our law enforcement
Oh,
and
heck
stuff?
yes.
So if 2 in the morning,
Yeah, absolutely.
they would,
Absolutely.
that's why I question the living in
will
Stafford.
mine. So will mine. And frankly, it'll be available to anybody in the community who wants it.
How many miles are you from Stafford?
Me? I didn't clock it. It was about 4 hours down. Yeah. That said, I've been able to mobilize folks in Manhattan from my house in under 15 minutes if there's an issue.
The person that you're gonna hire to oversee these people, what are they gonna be trained in? What's their credentials gonna be?
Okay, I think I may have answered this already. Typically, my folks are master's or bachelor's level in human services of some kind. It might be social work, it might be a marriage and family therapist.
When I mean by trained, are they gonna be like NCI trained versus CPR trained? Are they gonna know how to de-escalate the situation?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
I'm going to step away from the mic. I'm going to pass out business cards. If anyone's got a pen, I don't know quite how to do the cell phone thing. Anybody got a pencil and can write it down quickly? Well, it'll be on YouTube. It's 913-244-7585. I am generally up and around by about 5 a.m. My husband doesn't like me getting calls at 4:30 even if I am awake. And I am generally available until about 10 p.m. At which point, since I get up at 4:30, I'm usually asleep. I will answer the call. Yes, I sure will. It is 913-244-7585. Okay. My email and my landline are on my business cards. I'm going to walk through the crowd and hand those out, and I will stay as long as folks have individual questions or comments they want to bring to me. I thank you all for coming out and for your concern for your community. I hope you have a safe night home. Terrific rest of your week.